Well, tariff turmoil may leave its mark on short-term and possibly long-term investments. We're all left wondering whether to look to Washington policy or pure economics for more insight to help us understand which way the winds are indeed blowing. We're joined now by Raymond James Managing Director Ed Mills. Ed, it's always great to see you. Let me ask you this, Ed. When we saw that Trump tariff pause, there was immediately a lot of talk, Ed, and I'm sure you were hearing the same question. Okay, what does that tell us, if anything, about who's in pole position inside this administration, whether it's Team Besant or Team Navarro? I'm wondering if you have a view there, Ed, and to the extent you do, let's say it was Team Besant, what are the possible policy implications that flow from that, Ed?
Yeah, Josh, so what we're telling folks here at Raymond James is to think about it as Team Tariff, which is Navarro, that's Lutnick, that's Jamison Greer, the U.S. Trade Representative, and Team Econ, Scott Bessent, Kevin Hassett, the chair of the National Economic Council. It's been very clear to us at Raymond James that for the last month or more, Team Tariff has been completely in charge. And we've heard some reports that Team Econ and others within the White House was surprised when they saw the chart that Lutnick brought up to the podium in the Rose Garden, because I don't think that was the plan. That plan has set off a lot of economic and market reaction that's been very negative. And so what we saw yesterday with Bessent being at the podium, with Bessent taking charge of some of these negotiations, is that Team Econ is back in charge. Now, I don't know how long Econ is going to be in charge. There's going to be this push and pull. There is a team of rivals that have been employed by Donald Trump. But I look at this and say, whoever is in charge, that's going to dictate the market reaction here, Josh.
Well, and Ed, to some extent, obviously, this is sort of palace intrigue, and but obviously it has real implications too. We've seen that play out in the markets. So, just sort of be reductive about it, I guess. Is Team Econ better than Team Tariffs when it comes to market reaction? I mean, even if we're still riding Team Econ, the markets are down big today.
Yeah, so I think Team Econ is better for market reactions, but I think you're absolutely right, because when you think about this, back after the election, if I told you we were going to put a universal tariff of 10% on across the world, that the tariff on China was going to be 145%, that wouldn't necessarily be something that folks would say that, oh yeah, that's a great outcome here. We calculated it here at Raymond James, and then last week the announcements were about almost $600 billion worth of tariffs. Now, if you do 145 for China and 10% across the world, holding everything constant, which it won't be, it goes up to almost $850 billion. So even though we had a relief, it is still about a 40% on a dollar weighted average, the highest tariffs that we have had in 100 years or more. So there's still a lot of wood to chop here before we get to a level where the market will be okay with that. Hopefully in this next 90 days, we'll get some of that certainty.
And with this Trump tariff pause, Ed, with this 90 days, I'm just curious, how do you see things evolving over these next 90 days? What are your expectations?
Yeah, so from a market perspective, we told folks three things. We're either going to get deals, Trump blinks, that's bucket one, the courts or Congress stop him, that's bucket two, or Trump doubles down and we're seeing a realignment of all trade in the world. I do think it's actually, unfortunately, a bit of those three outcomes that we're going to go back and forth over this next day, weighting those averages. The long-term implication here, the outcomes, I think it's also three buckets. Bucket one, more revenue. Congress is trying to do a historic tax cuts. They need a new revenue stream. Bucket two, protect national security industries. Autos, semiconductors, pharmaceuticals, those are coming. Those will be sticky. Step three, get policy change. We're absolutely seeing these tariffs trying to change the policies of other countries. There's an opportunity here, but also a risk. Can that open up new markets for U.S. companies? Or are leaders not willing to negotiate because they don't know what Donald Trump wants?
Ed, let me ask you, all the tariff pause, all this tariff drama, what does it mean, Ed, for the other big issue that's front and center for investors, of course, which is tax cuts?
I think it puts a lot of pressure on Congress to get this done. Earlier today, we saw the House of Representatives vote on the budget resolution that had already cleared the Senate. Now, that's not a final bill in any way, shape, or form, but what that does is unlock the process. Congress is also in need of raising the debt limit. So, Josh, I always look at what is the crisis in DC? What's the deadline? The debt limit is the deadline. The crisis is some of the market reaction here. So I think by the August recess, sometime this summer, probably June, July, Congress is going to get that tax bill across the finish line. It probably permanently extends the tax cuts of 2017 and adds provisions such as no tax on tips, overtime, Social Security, expands out the SALT deduction, restores corporate tax deductions that have expired. The hope in the market is that will provide some level of fiscal stimulus that can provide a bull case in the market from here.
Ed, what are the chances that none of that gets done, that there isn't even an extension of the tax cuts? Is there any chance that that could happen?
Julie, there's always a chance, and I don't think anything is a straight line in Washington, D.C. But I do think when you look at this from a Republican perspective, these tax cuts expire on December 31st. So you're going to have a choice. Are you for the largest tax cut in history, or are you for the largest tax increase in history? In politics, when you're explaining, you're losing. So my base case is something gets extended. They might have to fall back if they don't have the votes. But the final thing I would point out here is that because there was a special election on April 1st in Florida, Republicans are back up to full strength. They're at 220 votes in the House. Republicans, that's going to be their largest majority because Democrats have had a couple of members pass away. They are at 213. So they're going to take advantage of this slightly larger majority to get this through and get it onto President Trump's desk.
Ed, always great to catch up with you. Thanks so much.
Likewise. Thank you.